All right, let's dive into a historical puzzle that has stumped scholars for ages. It's a mystery that connects a world-changing meeting, a powerful empire, and one man's incredible journey that reshaped a continent's faith. Let's get into it.
Okay, so picture this. The year is 325 CE. You're at the Council of Nicaea, the single most important gathering in early Christian history. A bishop, a guy named John from Persia, stands up and signs the official documents as the bishop for all of Great India. Now, wait a minute. How is that even possible? We're talking about a time when travel was incredibly dangerous and slow. How on earth could a bishop in Persia be in charge of a church thousands of kilometers away in India? It just doesn't add up.
And you gotta understand, Nicaea wasn't just some local meeting. This was the big one. The Roman Emperor Constantine himself brought together the who's who of Christian leaders to basically define the future of the faith. And boom, right there in the official records is this signature, a claim so audacious it seems flat out impossible. It's a tiny clue that, as we'll see, points to a much, much bigger story. To crack this mystery, we can't stay in Nicaea. We have to jump in our historical time machine and go back about 25 years. We're heading to the bustling, chaotic, and unbelievably important port city of Basra, right at the top of the Persian Gulf. Because this is where the real story begins. Okay, so it's time to meet the man at the center of all this. And let me tell you, he wasn't just some local priest. This guy was a big deal, a man with power, with respect, who decided to walk away from it all for a mission into the great unknown.
His name was David of Basra, sometimes called Duty. Now, here's what makes him so interesting. He wasn't just the metropolitan bishop, the head honcho of a major city in the powerful Sassanid Empire. The ancient records also say he was an eminent physician, a top-notch doctor. And that little detail, it's going to turn out to be his secret weapon.
I mean, just think about the choice he was making here. It's kind of nuts, right? On one hand, you've got a prestigious, powerful, and probably very comfortable life leading the church in the city that was the literal gateway to the East. On the other hand, a crazy mission to give it all up and head into the unknown regions of India. He was trading a sure thing for a journey that was anything but. So, the big question is, why? Why would he do it? Well, this wasn't just some personal, spiritual quest. Oh no. David's mission was plugged right into the grand ambitions of an empire and a really clever strategy for how you spread ideas. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. The Sassanid Empire under King Narseh was all about controlling the incredibly lucrative sea trade with India. And Basra, that was the cash cow, the main port funneling all that wealth, spices, gems, you name it, into the empire. So in that context, David's mission starts to look a little different. It wasn't just religious. It was a kind of soft power, extending Persian influence by following the trade routes. But here's the thing. David wasn't just going to wing it. He wasn't planning to just show up and start preaching on a street corner. No, he had a far more sophisticated plan, a strategy that used his very specific set of skills to perfection. And this right here is genius. Look at this three-part strategy. First, he leads with his medical skill. If you can heal the sick, you instantly gain people's trust. You even get access to royal courts. Second, business. He didn't try to reinvent the wheel. He just plugged the church right into the existing trade networks, working with the merchant guilds. And finally, language. He used Syriac, which was already the common language for business in the region. So using it for church just made sense. Super smart. So what was the result of this brilliant strategy? Well, it wasn't just a few new church members. Not even close. It was a total game changer. He transformed these scattered, isolated communities into a formal, organized part of the wider church. Now, this little quote here is so important. He found Christians there. That tells us everything. David wasn't planting a flag on new ground. Christianity was already in India, probably for a couple of centuries. But the communities were scattered, maybe without strong leadership. So his job wasn't to start something new, but to rescue and reinforce what was already there. So you can see the whole process laid out. First, he finds these groups. Then he travels all over, unifying them and giving them a solid structure. Next, he formally connects them back to the main church of the East in Persia. And finally, bam, he legitimizes them, creating an official brand new province. And here it is, the aha moment.
this is how we solve the puzzle from the very beginning. Because David of Basra did all this foundational work around the year 300, because he successfully organized the Indian church into an official province. Well, that's why, 25 years later, his successor, John the Persian, could confidently walk into the Council of Nicaea and sign his name as the Bishop of Great India. It wasn't a boast, it was a fact. David's work had made it a reality.
So, mystery solved, case closed. But the story doesn't end there, not by long shot. The impact of David's journey goes way beyond a signature on a dusty document. He forged a cultural and religious bridge across the Indian Ocean that has lasted for centuries. Over 1,700 years. Just let that number sink in. That's the lifespan of the unique Christian identity that David of Basra helped put on the map. It's an absolutely incredible legacy of resilience and continuity. And you can see the concrete results of his mission right here. That Syriac language he used, it became the sacred language for the St. Thomas Christians. The ancient prayers and liturgies from the Church of the East became their own. This all helped create a tough, resilient identity and kicked off what historians call the Persian era of Indian Christianity, an era that would last for more than 1,000 years. And the coolest part? You can actually go and see physical proof of this connection today. All across southern India, you can find these beautiful artifacts known as Persian crosses, and they're carved with inscriptions in both Pahlavi, the ancient language of Persia, and Syriac, the language of the church. They're like a history lesson carved in stone, a tangible symbol of this amazing cultural blend. So in the end, what does this story teach us? It shows us how ideas, faith, and culture really travel across the globe. It's not always through grand decrees or sacred texts sent from on high. So often, it happens on the ground, through medicine, through trade, and through the sheer courage of a single person willing to take a massive risk. David's decision didn't just solve a historical mystery. It forged a living legacy that has echoed for nearly 2,000 years.